Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as the pressure and story around David de Gea expands. Is it time to stay? Is it time to go? Is there a witch hunt, or is the criticism and demand that he leaves fair from certain sections of this fan base? Lots of stories coming in today. Obviously, we spoke this morning about this sources within the club that would like to see him go, even though the manager himself said he wants him to stay last night. Further developments coming out, all sorts of stuff. ESPN are saying that Dean Henderson will be the number one next year. That sounds worse to me. Also, The Telegraph, James Ducker saying that Ten Hag wants David de Gea to sign a new contract, but there's no assurances that he'd be the number one next season. There's a lot to get into in this, and I really do feel that we've got a poll up and running at the moment. At the moment, 59% are saying stay, 41% are saying go. At the very least, there is an opinion here of both sides, and both shall have their say. At the very least, there is a conversation to be had. But there's also a conversation to be had on the other side of things, that it would be ridiculous to actually think that the goalkeeper is the problem for Manchester United. Everton have just gone and scored 5 goals at Brighton to beat Brighton 5-1. We lost 1-0 to them on Thursday. Riddle me this, riddle me that. How is it that the goalkeeper is going to score the goals that we're not scoring? Well, we're going to sign a striker as well. So we're going to buy a £60 million goalkeeper, a £70 million midfielder, and a £100 million striker. Where are we getting the money from this? So, look, I think there are priorities. There are things that need to happen. But I'll tell you what bothers me the most about all of this. And I want to get into it, and I want to get people's thoughts on this. But 2 things bother me the most here. The cost of replacing De Gea will cost you, I think, about 60 million quid. And the priority of this team is goals. I look at this Manchester United side. We've scored 49 goals this season. That is less than Brentford. It is less than Fulham. And it is the same as Leicester City. That is abysmal for a front line of Martial, Rashford, Anthony and Sancho, who we pay £1 million a week to. £1 million a week, and we are not scoring more goals than Brentford, Fulham or Leicester. That goals win games. Goalkeepers make mistakes. Yesterday, David de Gea, I can't move for people saying De Gea cost us the game. Since when's a 0-0 at West Ham a good result? We've got to be scoring more goals, people. That is the priority. That is where I am focused, and I think that's where Ten Hag is focused, because this team doesn't score enough goals. We pay people a lot of money and they don't create. They are individuals. And that, for me, is the biggest problem at Manchester United. But look, let's bring it back to De Gea. Why is there such a need from United fans to hold on to players? I really don't get it. We don't have any world-class players in the team. We can upgrade at all the positions. Yeah, HKN, I think, look, one thing I would say here is, and I think it's very important to say it at the start, I sense there's a lot of hunger to speak about David de Gea today, and I'm not going to sweep it under the carpet. I think there's a conversation to be had, but in that conversation, I also think that there has to be look, if you want to have an opinion, you have to accept that other people might have a different opinion to you. I know why some fans want De Gea to go. They never shut up about it. They never whether it's Twitter accounts, Beth, whatever. They never shut up about it. I already know why you want him to go. It's because of his distribution and you don't think he's a top keeper anymore. That's it, isn't it? Why are you still shouting about it? How much more do you need us to know? I know you want that. I've always said, let's see what Ten Hag does in the summer. What I don't understand is the aggressiveness of it, the relentlessness of it, and how it's like some people are literally doing clips every 5 minutes. Ten Hag doesn't listen to you. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to anybody. Ollie didn't listen to us. Van Gaal didn't listen to us when he was picking Fellaini. Mourinho didn't listen to us when he wouldn't pick Martial. They don't listen to you. So you're constant shouting about it. He's not going to listen. He's not going to log on to Twitter and go, let's put Butland in goal for the rest of the season. David de Gea is the goalkeeper until after these massive games against Wolves, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Fulham and Manchester City. That's what I don't understand. If David de Gea is not our goalkeeper next season and Eric Ten Hag decides to sell him and put Dean Henderson in goal, I won't agree with it and I can communicate with that, but I'll back it because he's the manager. 100%. You know I will. You know I will. I'm not... Look, I wouldn't back some of the things Solskjaer did and I wouldn't back some of the things Mourinho did, but I'm 100% behind this manager. I might express my disagreement, but if Eric Ten Hag decides that David de Gea is not to be our goalkeeper anymore, then Eric Ten Hag has my 100% support on that. Whatever he decides. I might say, I think he's making a mistake, but let's hope it works. But he has my support. What I don't understand about some of our fans at the moment with De Gea, it's vicious. It's vicious. And yet, he is the goalkeeper, and he will be the goalkeeper till the end of the season. You've registered your dissatisfaction. We know you don't want him in goal. Why do you have to keep telling everybody every minute of every day and letting the world know? What good does that do us for the next 5 games? Because if you want Butland or Heaton in goal, I'm sorry, you're a fool. They're nowhere near the level of David de Gea. And if you want a little bit of a chat about this, De Gea will never be able to be the goalkeeper that allows Ten Hag to play the way he wants. He's been protected this season. Oz, look, thank you. Again, you didn't need to waste... Thank you very much for your super chat. You didn't really need to tell us what we already know. We already know why you don't want De Gea in goal. You don't think he's a modern goalkeeper and you think he's not as good as he used to be. You don't need to keep telling us. Why don't you listen to the other side of the story? I know your side of the story. Everybody does. You keep telling us the same thing every bloody minute. What do you want us to do about it? It can't be solved until the summer. It's almost like you think Ten Hag's going to see your super chat or your tweet and change it. He is the manager, like you say. He will make the decision. I think until the summer, we've got to get behind De Gea. We've got to get behind Martial. We've got to get behind Maguire if he comes into the team, because we're trying to achieve something for the summer and then we can make the changes. It's not just distribution. He's making the mistakes the usual keepers make. These are non-league mistakes. You play with 10 men, says Arjun. Thank you very much for telling us what we already know. Quinn, welcome to the Members Club. Do you think they may be delaying announcing plans around the sale until after the season because they know it will cause uproar in the fan base? Says Joshua Bowwater. I don't know, Joshua, about that at the moment. We'll come back to that in a bit. Goalkeeper is the least of our problems. Every time he does well, nobody says anything. The moment he makes a mistake, they bring out the pitchforks. I think that's a great comment by Jack. I've noticed this a lot. I know people who don't rate De Gea. There's a couple of people on this channel. They never acknowledge it when he does well. When he pulls off worldies against Crystal Palace, they don't acknowledge it. They're waiting for the mistake. And you know what? Frederick says, I said to you that Maguire and Lindelof wasn't the problem a few seasons ago. I said it's the attackers that don't score enough, says Frederick. Thank you very much for that. United is a car with a flat tyre and no gas in the tank. Poor midfield. Some people think the solution is to buy a new stereo system, says Billy Welsh. Well, look, I want to just talk about this for a moment because unless somebody wants to tell me... Look, I'm trying to have a debate here. I get people like clipping up me giving De Gea 9 out of 10 from 3 or 4 matches ago and putting it out there that I gave him 9 out of 10 last night. So talk about witch hunts. Apparently I've got David De Gea on speed dial and all this. But I know and respect why you don't want De Gea. So it's a funny one for me. I quite enjoy it because I have unfairly been called negative for many years, which I'm not. And I'm now getting a load of shit for being over positive about a player. So you just can't win with this fan base at times. You're either ultra negative or you're too positive about backing a player. So look, but I get it. I think people don't think I don't respect their opinion. I respect and understand your opinion about De Gea. If you want him to go, that is your opinion. I'm not here to convince you otherwise. You've got a good reason. You don't like the way he plays in goal. Fine. And you've told us all about that. The great thing about opinions is that if you want to have one, then you want to have your freedom of speech. Well, with that freedom of speech comes the consequences of someone else maybe having a different opinion in their freedom of speech. So I know why you don't want De Gea. But listen to this. Listen to this. This is why I keep De Gea. One, I'm very loyal to our legends, and he is a legend of the club, but that is a little bit blind, I'll admit that. Two, and the main reason I want to stick with De Gea is I know we haven't got the money to replace De Gea with what you need to replace De Gea with when we need a centre-back, a midfielder and an attacker. They're my priorities. And a centre-back, an attacker and a midfielder is going to cost about 200 million quid. They're my priorities. I haven't got another 60, 70 to spend on a goalkeeper. So my priorities are not a goalkeeper. It's not. My main priorities are scoring goals. We're not scoring enough goals. It's abysmal the amount of goals we're scoring this season. And for some reason, it scares and worries me how much focus there is on David de Gea today. Because even if he doesn't make that mistake, we didn't win. Luke Shaw did the handball, not David de Gea on Thursday. We didn't win. You've got to win. You can't draw. If you draw every game, you could get relegated with 38 points. You've got to score goals. We're not creating enough and we're not scoring enough. But what I find really interesting is, and I'm going to give you the stats on this. My problem is the forwards as well. Ricky's been right all along, says K-Flow. Total joke, Mark. If United was 3-0 up, nobody would have bothered. We can't score, says Warrior. A few seasons ago, you blamed Maguire for our deep line. Now we have Varane and Martinez and our line is just as deep. Notice how you blamed Maguire for it and not your favourite De Gea. Not important. Thank you. Oh, you've done it. I didn't even know. And it's a super chat as well. I cannot thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough because I've seen a few people do this. I want to get into some stats in a minute and really just get my point across. But I've just got to say really thank you to Not Important. I'm not even frustrated about this. I cannot believe the amount of people who come out with this sort of a conversation and say, you go in on a Maguire all the time, but De Gea's fine. And I'm like, if you don't understand the difference between David De Gea and Harry Maguire, and why it's okay to have a pop at Maguire as a footballer and De Gea deserves a little bit more, then football's not for you. What has Harry Maguire got to do with the performance of David De Gea? For me, there is a conversation to have about David De Gea, but it's a conversation to be had when a Ferrari's not performing well. Maybe it needs a new engine. Maybe it's past it. I don't know. Harry Maguire's a Vauxhall Astra. He's never performed in a Man United shirt. He's won nothing. I can't remember him consistently having 2 or 3 good games for us in a row. He is not a Manchester United footballer, in my opinion. Now, somebody might have another opinion. They might think he's world class. But I am not having that. I am not having people say, well, you stick up for De Gea all the time, but you're always saying Maguire's not good enough. That's like saying you're always devouring your lasagna, but you can't stand cabbage and chips. There's no correlation. There's absolutely no correlation. That's like going to school tomorrow and saying, I love maths, but I bloody hate French. Yeah, what's that got to do with anything? Maguire's his own subject. What has the conversation Maguire got to do with De Gea? I mean, you're just talking about likes and dislikes. When Messi has a bad game and he gets a bit of stick at PSG, do you think PSG fans are going, well, you're sticking up for Messi, but you don't stick up for that reserve striker who's complete shit. It's got nothing to do with it. I'm glad that you did it, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Cody says, I saw a stat that Bruno had more key passes than anyone this season with 100 plus. The problem is the striker, says Cody. Crazy how a couple of mistakes make people turn on one of the best goalkeepers this club has ever seen, says Kevin. It's, look, I'm not here to tell people that they're wrong for not wanting De Gea. I'm above all that. I don't have a massive problem with it. It's an opinion. I quite like people having different opinions. But I want to get into it. Everyone's priority is a striker, but can we have a poll between midfield and goalkeeper as a second? Be interested to see what others think, says Joshua. It'll be a landslide on midfield, mate. I will do it, though. I don't understand this De Gea hate. He saved us so many times and people really comparing with Maguire, says Show. Mark, do you still see us getting top 4, says Luke? I do. So, look, can I just say this? Right. Obviously, on the poll at the moment, around 58% want De Gea to stay, around 42% want him to go. My big thing here is there's no money to replace De Gea, and we need to spend it on other areas. And as I said, the attack is a joke. 59 goals this season, 49 goals for Man United this season, okay? Man United have scored 49 goals this season. Leicester have the same amount of goals, and they're in a relegation battle. You've got Liverpool on 67 and they've had a bad season. So Liverpool nearly scored 20 goals more than us on a bad season. Spurs are the most boring team in the league. They've scored 64. We've scored 49. Obviously Arsenal and Man City are up in the 80s and 90s, I think. But Brentford and Fulham have scored more than us as well. Our goal scoring record in the Premier League doesn't get what it... I don't know why it doesn't. And I don't really understand why people who profess to watch football think that the goalkeeper is the biggest issue in this team, when we're spending, like I say, £1 million a week on our attack and they can't score more goals than Leicester. The goals win games, by the way. Goals win games. But you're right. You are right. Let's look at it the other way. Goalkeepers can save games as well. 15 clean sheets. David de Gea is number 1 with 15 clean sheets this season in the Premier League, right? So can somebody explain to me why that's not to do with David de Gea then? This is the problem I've got. I get it. He made a mistake yesterday. I get it that people don't like his distribution. Is David de Gea's distribution going to make the strikers score more goals? It's a long way from the goalkeeper to the penalty box. I don't think so. I think this is a non-goalkeeping issue as to why we're not scoring goals. It's 100. I know why we're not scoring goals, because in the final third, everyone's too greedy and they don't look for a pass. 15 clean sheets. He's going to win the Golden Glove. How is David de Gea winning the Golden Glove if he's not a good goalkeeper? Well, people might say what I believe and know to be nonsense. Well, it's because of the defence in front of him. David de Gea, right. David de Gea this season, total saves. This is from Scout, right? Number 1, David Raya has made the most saves this season. So look, he's a decent option. You know, if you want him as United's goalkeeper this summer, I've got to say, David Raya is really interesting. David de Gea is number 9 this season in the Premier League for saves made. He's made 93 saves this season. That's more than Ramsdale. That's more than Nick Pope. And it's way more than Edison, because Edison has actually only made 44 saves this season. So David de Gea has made more saves than Ramsdale. He's made more saves than Pope. He's made more than Kepa at Chelsea, more than Lloris at Spurs. David de Gea has made loads of saves this season, and he's got 15 clean sheets. So, yeah, he's made some mistakes. Yeah, his distribution's not good. But factually, he's made more saves than every goalkeeper above him in the league. And he's got 15 clean sheets as well. He's made a contribution to that. You cannot have 15 clean sheets if you're not a good goalkeeper. It makes no sense. And what's more interesting as well is when you look at Man United's goals conceded this season, and I want to get this exactly right. When you look at Manchester United's goals conceded this season, we've got the 4th best defence in the league. Even though we've been beaten by 6 by Man City and by 7 by Liverpool. Freak results. We've still got the 4th best defence in the league. If we'd have just lost 1-0 to Man City and 1-0 to Liverpool, still lost the games, but by what should have happened, we'd have the 3rd best league in the world, the 3rd best defence in the league. So, whether people like it or not, the stats don't lie. Our success this season is based on the defence. Fact. So I respect the fact that you want to get rid of David de Gea. I really do. I understand why. I'm not telling you you're wrong. You don't like the goalkeeper. You don't like him. But my side, and maybe some people agree with me, is that I can't see how this is the priority. We've got the 4th best defence in the league. We'd have the 3rd best defence in the league if we hadn't got stuffed at Anfield. He's making more saves than every goalkeeper above him in the league. And he's got 15 clean sheets more than anybody else. That, to me, is nowhere near the priority of scoring goals when we're paying £1 million a week to 4 forwards who haven't scored more goals than Leicester and have scored 20 goals less than Liverpool and 15 goals less than Spurs. I'm sorry, I think I know where the priority is in this team. And if we have got a limited budget this summer, 100, 200 million, I'm not spending 50 million of it on a goalkeeper. I'm spending it on, well, ideally 2 strikers and another midfielder. So please understand my opinion. You might disagree with it. I feel strongly about it. I respect your opinion about the goalkeeper, but I don't see the problem. I really don't think a few misplaced passes and a slip against West Ham are sufficient for me to go, let's get rid of the goalkeeper for the last 10 years and bring in somebody else at the sacrifice of something that might help us score more goals. And as for people who are saying, well, James Ducker is saying that Ten Hag has said that he wants him to sign a new contract, but there's no guarantee that he's going to be number 1. Good. Good. If we sign Harry Kane, I don't want him to be told he's guaranteed to be number one. If we sign Caicedo, I don't want him to be told he's number one. I don't want Martinez to be told he's number one. I don't want Anthony to be told he's number one. I want every United player to be competing for their spot. I don't care about whether he's been told he's going to be number one or not. Nobody should be told they're guaranteed to start at Manchester United. But I'll tell you this for free. If David de Gea is signing a contract over £200,000 a week, I very much doubt we are going to sign a reserve goalkeeper on over £200,000 a week. So, look, we'll see what the future holds. If Ten Hag decides he wants to bring David Raya in and have him in goal with De Gea fighting with him, bring it on. Bring it on. I'll respect it. If Eric Ten Hag decides he's going to sign De Gea on a new contract and put Dean Henderson number one, I think that's a bloody mistake because it didn't work before. And if Eric Ten Hag decides he's going to keep David De Gea as number one and bring in somebody else to compete with him, I'm on board with that as well. But we won't know any of these things until the summer. And the next 5 games are all I'm thinking about. And I look at this season, I look at 15 clean sheets, I look at the fact that he's made more saves than Pope and Ramsdale and Edison. And I look at the fact that this defence is why we've had a good season because the attack has let us down. And I'm like, I want Varane back ASAP and I want De Gea in goal because we've got to beat Wolves. We've got to beat Bournemouth, we've got to beat Chelsea, we've got to beat Fulham and we've got to beat Man City. And these next 5 games are cup finals for us. And I know who I want between the sticks. And I want David De Gea. Whatever happens in the summer will be, will be. But what I don't understand is, and maybe somebody can come back and tell me, I don't understand why this obsessive, constant barrage of clips and shouts about our goalkeeper are going on. We all know you don't want him in goal. What are you shouting and screaming for? We know. You've been heard. We've listened to you. We've registered your opinion. Why would you carry it on until the summer? Can't you wait till the summer now? Can't we wait till after Man City? And then you can do it every day, every minute. And, you know, as I say, Ten Hag's not going to listen to you anyway, because managers don't. But could we not, just for the next 5 games, get behind the team and get behind the manager and get behind the players? Because it's the difference between Man City winning a treble. It's the difference between Thursday night football again. We know why you don't like this goalkeeper. Nobody's telling you you're wrong. Nobody's saying you're idiots. We know it. We respect it. Why are you constantly going on about it? Because to me, it's almost like I told you so badge. I told you so. Well, all right, you've told us. We need to move on a little bit, I think. My problem is, as K-Flow, let's read some of these chats. You always say to take notice of what our rivals say, and they want us to keep him. Surely that says something, says Connor. Connor, did you not listen to the last 10 minutes? Why I've explained why I want to keep him. As I say, you don't want to keep him. I don't care what Liverpool or Arsenal fans think. I know what some people think. I respect it. I don't agree with it. And I've just explained to you, how have we got a goalkeeper that's kept 15 clean sheets in the best defence in the league, bar Man City, Arsenal and Newcastle, he's made more saves than their goalkeepers. He's had a good season as a goalkeeper. I'm sorry, he has. I know the distribution's a problem, but he's had a very good season as a goalkeeper in stopping shots and making us get good results. It's a fact. You can't tell me. I mean, what is the... I mean, surely the whole point of an opinion is to be balanced. You're not expressing your opinion if you're not listening to others. I'm listening to you. I know why you don't like him. Like I said, I know it. I know what it is. I see it all the time. But you don't want to listen to what I'm saying. You're trying to make out we've kept 15 clean sheets because of the centre-backs. Nonsense. They've all contributed to it. As a defence, they've contributed to it. You've been aggressive with other players, kind of hypocritical. We also have... Walker, it's not hypocritical though, is it? It's not hypocritical. I said when Martinez and Varane got injured, if he picks Maguire between now and the end of the season, we better get behind him because we need him. So I don't know where this hypocrisy and aggression that you're talking about is coming from. I don't think Maguire's good enough. You know why I don't think Maguire's good enough. If he plays against Wolves, I hope he has a good game. It's the same as if you don't like De Gea. That's what I'm saying. We've got 5 games. Let's see what happens in the summer. I'm hoping that Ten Hag sells Maguire. You're hoping that he sells De Gea. But until the summer, there's not really much point in me going, get out of our club. Oh, look at this clip of Maguire, this, that and the other. You know, It doesn't make any sense. And also, to compare Harry Maguire to David de Gea is just completely disrespectful. Like I said, it's they're not the same. David de Gea has earned his right as one of the best goalkeepers in the world over the last decade and at Manchester United. He's earned the respect and he's shown that he can be a Man United player. Other players, they haven't. So what's the comparison? Good show, though. I'm enjoying the debate. He's made more saves because he's faced more shots. Having said that, I do agree with you, Mark. We need to back him, says James. 15 clean... Well, you're right about that. Of course you are. Of course you're right about that. I mean, Ederson has made half the saves that De Gea has made because he doesn't get many shots. But it doesn't disprove my point that a lot of the clean sheet... It almost proves it more. Like, if Ederson had 15 clean sheets this year, Ederson should have 15... My point is, Ederson should be winning the Golden Glove. David De Gea has made double the saves, Ederson. That's my whole point. He's contributed to those clean sheets. He's made double the saves, Ederson, because he's probably had double the shots. So how is Ederson not winning the Golden Glove then? You can argue both, but what I'm saying is you can't say that the goalkeeper hasn't contributed to the Golden Glove award when he wins it. Can't believe Rashford doesn't get this type of criticism, says Chris. Well, I think we all know why the attackers don't get the criticism, because you miss a sitter, it's 0-0. You make a mistake in goal, 1-0. I get that. Again, I can understand that and I respect that. You know, Anthony's miss yesterday, the silly shots from everybody, Martial's miss as well. You know, it's the Brighton game. Or if you take all those chances we had against Brighton and West Ham, some of those chances, it's ridiculous that we don't score, especially when Everton have gone and scored bloody 5 against Brighton. But keeper makes a mistake. It's there for everybody to see, isn't it? Navan, thank you very much for gifting 5 memberships. And Nick P says, Declan Rice saying he wanted to test himself against the biggest club in the world and put everything in. As many other players, I'm sure, we really need our players back that command authority, says Nick. I think that, you know, in general at the moment with the team, and I don't want to say too much, but in general with the team at the moment, look, everybody knows we could lose to Wolves at the weekend. We could beat them 6-0. It's still only 3 points. Doesn't get us 3 points back against West Ham. But if you watched Everton-Brighton today, like I did, and obviously we watched Man United-Brighton last Thursday, it's incredible how Brighton can put in a performance like that against United, and then Everton can do them so badly. And, you know, Everton don't score many goals as well. That result makes no sense tonight, especially when Brighton have still got a chance of going for top 4. That result is incredible. I said on Twitter, I think that's the most incredible result of the season. Brighton are really good and are desperate to get into Europe. Everton can't score goals and look like they're going to get relegated. I could have seen a 1-0 scrappy Everton win, but a 5-1 win at Brighton, not at Goodison Park, is incredible. And you have to bring that back to United, and you have to go, how are Everton, who can't score, going to Brighton and winning 5-1, and then we go there and we lose 1-0? Well, it comes, you know what it is? It just comes down to the fact that Everton as a team were together and wanted it more and knew they needed to win that game. And they've gone and done it. It comes down to mentality. It comes down to camaraderie, synergy, chemistry, you know. And this United side has lost it. As I said, look, I love Casemiro. He's not his normal self. The team has lost something. The rumour is that there's discord in the changing room. The rumour is that there's unhappiness in the changing room. That terrifies me because we've seen what happens most of the season, and hopefully still, that team has been very together, and we've seen the reward of that. In the last few games, they don't look together, and that worries me because last season we saw how some of these players are very open to, you know, toxicity and divide and all that, and I hope that's not creeping back in. But I think when you look at what Everton have done tonight, what happened with us against West Ham yesterday, all a team needs to do is want it more and they'll win. And our heads will drop. And that's never acceptable. Can we know how many points each Premier League goalkeeper has cost? As some, with Shaw playing so well at centre-back and Dalot being able to cover left-right back, should United hold off on centre-back and get 2 strikers and 2 midfielders, says Ryan. I would like a centre-back, but the priority has to be a striker and a midfielder. Brighton putting on that result with an extra day of rest makes me give our players a little slack, says Lake. And can't believe Rashford doesn't have done that one from Chris as well. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. I'm going to close the poll because we've had over 12,000 votes, which is more than people. We've got 11,600 watching. So 58% would keep De Gea, 42% would move him on. It feels like the players are not responding to Erik Ten Hag the way they did earlier in the season. Are the players who down tools last season at it again, says Stephen. Look, from what I've heard, there is, and always has been, a little bit of unhappiness in the squad. That's normal. You know, there's a lot of unhappiness at Chelsea. Even at Man City, there'll be a couple of players that are not happy that they're not playing. It's always normal to have a little bit of discontent in your squad. But I'll be honest, I've not really heard anything from anybody about, you know, major rifts or, you know, leaks or, you know, toxicity or cliques in the dressing room. Not heard anything like that. The coaches have done a great job. Whether it's Erik Ten Hag, Van der Gaag, McLaren, Fletcher, it's a good, happy environment there where people are like, we've won a trophy. We're in an FA Cup final. We could be in the Champions League next year. There's a lot of happiness in the squad, but something in the last few weeks has gone wrong. You know, I worry when you see a story in the Manchester Evening News from Samuel Lucas saying that certain senior figures at United don't want De Gea to stay, but then the manager's saying he does. It might be really something insignificant. It might be something quite big, which I think we have our part to play as fans. I really do. And like I say, if Erik Ten Hag decides he's going to pick Maguire and Lindelof at the weekend and put Shaw at left back, I don't agree with it. But it's way more important that we win, and I hope Maguire scores and he's man of the match. I think we have our part to play. I think Old Trafford's going to have a massive part to play, by the way. We've got 3 home games. I think we've been brilliant at home this season, and I think the crowd has responded to this team and manager this season at Old Trafford fantastically well. And I think that's why we'll get top 4. But Erik Ten Hag will know 100% what has caused this drop-off in the last few weeks. And ultimately, do we need to know? What we need to do is do our job as fans and get behind the team and get them over the line. And they've got to respond to that. Ten Hag will know what's gone wrong. And that's what I mean. Whether it's Rashford, Martial, Bruno, whoever, let Ten Hag deal with it in the summer because he's an obsessive. He's obsessed with winning. And he will know the problems in that team and the priorities of what he's going to use them. And look, we've spent a lot of time talking about De Gea. Maybe Ten Hag is like, you know, I've got this goalkeeper that, you know, stops a lot of goals going in, but I do want a goalkeeper that can pass better. But it's down my priority list. It's at number 5, and I'm not going to do it this summer. It might be number 2, and he is going to do it this summer, but it won't happen till this summer. That's what I mean. And I think that I'm almost at the point where I'm just like, I want to get to the summer. I want to get to that point where we can make some changes because, God, we need it. It's unacceptable, some of the performances we've had this season. But on the other hand, we've got these massive games to come, and I just want the team to get some camaraderie back. It's like they've lost trust in each other. They don't look happy. You know, there's been some good performances in recent weeks. I think Lindelof and Shaw have been a real shining light. You know, you look at the last 2 games, it's the attack that's let us down, and obviously the mistake by De Gea yesterday, but Luke Shaw was ridiculously unlucky with that handball. That would have been a clean sheet. If David de Gea doesn't make that mistake yesterday, that would have been a clean sheet. So we need to score more goals. Goals win games, but there has been some positives. I think the defence has done pretty well over the last few weeks. I'll never understand the hate for the goalkeeper this club has ever had. In all seriousness, though, thoughts on Livakovic for 10 million from Dinamo Zagreb, says Shunt. I'm not massively bothered about goalkeepers, as I say. As long as it's not Dean Henderson, I'm not really bothered. And the reason I don't want it to be Dean Henderson is because I've seen enough of him. I don't think he is good enough to take De Gea's spot. I don't think that's an improvement. I really don't. And look, I see the value of David de Gea. I've seen what he's done this season. I see the amount of saves. I see the clean sheets. If we're going to replace him, I'll back the manager on it, whatever he decides. But if we are going to replace him, I really hope we go and get someone like a David Raya. That would what I would do for me. He's Premier League proven. He's made more saves than anyone in the league this season. He's brilliant with his feet. I mean, it basically ticks what I want and what some of you want. I want a goalkeeper that can save shots, a shot stopper, and he is that. And a lot of you want somebody who's brilliant with his feet, and he is that. So, look, if we're going to replace De Gea, I would be looking at that side. I don't think Costa's achievable, like Romano said. I just don't think we've got that sort of thing, ability to do that. But David Raya would be interesting. I wouldn't go down the Dean Henderson route. But ideally, if somebody said to me, you've got £200 million, will you spend 40 million of it or 30 million of it on David Raya? I'd say no, because that leaves me with 170, and I need a striker, a midfielder, and a centre back. So it's not a priority for me. Again, you don't have to agree with me, and a lot of you don't, but I think I've communicated it quite clearly tonight. When you have a number than that prefers to take last-minute shot with his weak foot from 30 yards away instead of crossing into the box, I can see where the forwards will struggle. Plus, Rashford and Antony are far too greedy. Kane will struggle with them, says HKN. Yeah, I mean, I don't think... I find it disappointing, but I go with the chat. I go with what the big conversations are, and it has been about De Gea today. It's very disappointing for me. Can't believe Rashford doesn't get... I've done that one from Chris. Welcome to the Members Club as well, Ron. I find it really disappointing, but we're all different and we've all got different opinions. I find it really disappointing because today I really hoped we would be spending more time talking about what Ten Hag's going to do with this attack in the next few weeks, but also in the summer. I think it's a huge problem. But it's a little bit like after the Liverpool game, where we got stuffed at Anfield. Instead of talking about the real problem, which was the team mentality and how it drops its head, it was all about Bruno's moaning. And it's a shame. It happens a lot. Maybe it happens in other countries as well. It happens a lot in this country. And it happens a lot around Manchester United with the media. There's always one player that gets scapegoated. And admittedly, sometimes it has been Harry Maguire. Sometimes it has been Fred. Sometimes it has been Martial. It was Bruno after Liverpool. It's De Gea today. But it's not Maguire's fault this season's gone wrong away from home. It's not Rashford's fault. It's not Bruno's fault. It's not Martial's fault. It's not De Gea's fault. It's not Maguire's fault. It's a bigger problem. It is a bigger problem. And I would have loved to have been talking more today about what the big problem is at Man United. We can't create chances in the penalty box. We're too greedy in the final third. We don't take care of the ball. We're not composed. We're impatient. We're rash. We'll take a shot where there's a 10% chance of hitting it on target rather than working for a better opportunity. We don't score enough goals. We've scored no goals in our last 2 Premier League games. We've scored 1 goal in our last 3 Premier League games. It's not enough. Games are won by goals. But I understand as well that, you know, a topic takes off and that's what everyone wants to talk about. But I can only repeat what I've said. Antony, Martial, Rashford and Sancho cost us £1 million a week in wages. Forget transfer fees, in wages. £1 million a week. That's £52 million a year we're paying for 4 forwards who can't score more goals than Leicester. 49 goals is a poor return for any team in the top 4. But one with that amount of talent, it's ridiculously bad. And as I say, 49 goals for Man United in the Premier League this season. Liverpool have had a dreadful season. They've got 67. Spurs are boring, 64. Like, that's the conversation I'd like to talk about. But unfortunately, the mainstream latches onto something different and everybody seems to follow it. I'm not saying that they're wrong to talk about other areas, but I want to know why we as a team can't create better chances than we do. I want to know why in the last attack of the game, Bruno's got space to whip a cross in on his weak foot and decides to shoot. And that's a mentality that's you've got to go to the training grounds. You've got to go to the coaches, you know. And if Eric Ten Hag is saying I'm as confused as everybody else, well, they're not. That's indiscipline. They're not doing as they're told. That is what we need to resolve, because David de Gea can make a mistake in every single game. We'll still get top 4 if we score 2 goals. So, you know, we've got to solve immediately and long term the problem of creating better chances, because it's not rocket science, is it? If we create better chances in the penalty box, we will score more goals. If you have 3 shots from the edge of the box where you've got a 10% chance of scoring, and you have 1 shot in the box where you've got a 60% chance of scoring, I'll take that 1 chance in the box every time over Antony, Rashford and Bruno shooting from outside. we've got to figure this out. We don't create enough really good chances. As I say, I watched Haaland at the weekend against Leeds. He didn't score. He missed 4 sitters, and he should have took the penalty. So we've got to be better. Look at Mo Salah's goal at the weekend against Brentford. They win 1-0. It's a bloody tap-in, and it's a well-worked goal. We don't create these types of chances, and it's a problem. FIFA Crazy says, should Eric Ten Hag keep his job if Qatar come in but he fails to achieve top 4? I don't understand the criticism of Eric Ten Hag at all. I think he's done an incredible job. I get the frustration, but if somebody had said to me at the start of the season, we'd be in the top 4, need 9 points from our last 12 with 3 home games, and we'd be in the 2 domestic cup finals, I'd have said, yes, please. What a season. Many clubs are either savvy with their transfers or have resources to get their targets. Good clubs have both. How is it that this club has neither? Our big problem, Stephen, I don't know whether anyone watched the video with Romano this afternoon. Our big problem at the moment is we've got a lot of uncertainty on the pitch, and we've got huge uncertainty off the pitch. Eric Ten Hag must be very frustrated deep down, because he'll be worried that his team's going to bottle top 4, which will damage his transfer window anyway, and he'll be worried that he doesn't even know what his transfer window is because of the sale process. People have to realise that we need to win games and support our squad, not be toxic and judge who should leave and stay. That's the manager's job, says Jose. And I've played the game, and I say we keep Dave, says Navin. Well, look, all I'm going to say about that is we've closed the poll now. If you want De Gea to go, fine. If you want De Gea to stay, fine. My only issue with the people who want De Gea to go is that it's just so relentlessly in your face all the time. If you're a Man United fan, why do you keep going on about it? Eric Ten Hag is not going to read your tweets. He's going to make a decision in the summer, and your noise on social media isn't going to make that change. But your noise on social media is just causing a little bit of... But I don't know. I don't even know what it is. It's up to you. Keep doing it if you want to do it. But my message is, I already know that you don't want to keep him, and I know why. Going on about it, I don't know whether we need to print a load of badges like you don't want De Gea. I don't know. But I would say, surely you can realise it could be damaging for the next few games if we keep going on and on about certain players. I heard Shearer going on about Martial last night and how Man United need to sell him. That's absolutely fine. Alan Shearer supports Newcastle. But United fans saying it about Martial. Did you not see Weghorst yesterday? I know Martial is a player that we want to sell and needs another player to move on to. I know people want to sell Martial. I get it. He's injury prone. You think he's lazy, which is ridiculous. You think he's not good enough. Whatever. I get it. I know. I've heard it for years. But I'll tell you right now, I want Martial to start every game between now and the end of the season. For 2 reasons. One, if he's going to go, if he scores a few goals, his value might go up. But 2, he's better than bloody Weghorst. And I prefer Rashford on the wing. And we've got nobody else. So I'm actually, whatever I think about Martial, I'm begging that he stays fit and he plays every game, because we'll be a better team with it. That bit of play between him and Rashford, and he should have scored against West Ham, was the best bit of the whole bloody game. So you can say Martial and Rashford were shit yesterday, and yeah, you're probably right, but we're far better with those two on the pitch than we aren't without it. And yeah, the strikers haven't performed this season, but Rashford scored a lot of goals. He has scored a lot of goals. He's somebody who can hold his head up and say, look, I have scored a lot of goals this year. Yeah, he's greedy at times. Yes, he needs to look for the better pass. Yes, he does. But how much service does Rashford get as well? He was getting some good service. He was scoring headers not that long ago. Where's the service gone? It's weird. It is weird. Kane probably scores 20 league goals. How many extra points would that have gotten us this year, says Joshua. Joshua, I think that's too simplistic. I actually, and again, it's all about opinion. Emil, thanks for being a member for 20 months. Of course, it's all about opinion, and people may disagree or agree. I don't think it's as simple as saying, stick Harry Kane in this team and we've scored 69 goals instead of 49. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see where the chances are for Kane. You don't just drop Lionel Messi in a Stoke team and he starts scoring goals like he did for Barcelona, because the players around him can't play like Xavi and Iniesta and everybody else. You don't just drop Harry Kane into that Man United side and he starts scoring 20 goals, because where are the chances? It's difficult. It's really difficult. Ronaldo showed that last year. He got 18 Premier League goals, and he should really, in a Man United team, be scoring 30. But he did really well to do that. But it's tough. it's tough to do it in that team because you don't get that many chances. And this season, I think we're worse at creating chances for our number 9. Only 4 set-piece goals in the league, which is last. Another huge issue, says Rory. Well, our set-pieces are dreadful. You know, funnily enough, our biggest asset from set-pieces is Harry Maguire. You know, that's one thing I've always said. He's the best. He's brilliant at it, winning headers from corners, but he can't direct it. And he's the only one who really wins headers from corners. So we're dreadful at set pieces. Some teams are brilliant at them. We're dreadful. I'm always concerned by Rashford's work rate, tracking back and fighting for the ball when defending, like Grealish does for City, says Kia. There's a lot to improve at this team. There really is a lot to be improved at this team. And it's certainly, look, as I say, I can't dictate where the conversation goes nationally or in this country, but it is rather disappointing when you get beat by Liverpool at Anfield and everybody's talking about Bruno the next day when it's a team issue. And it's a bit disappointing today that everybody's talking about De Gea, and there's loads of other issues as well. It sort of lets everybody off the hook. You know, apparently United aren't back in training till Wednesday. They've got 2 days off. I don't know whether that's true. They should be back tomorrow, but apparently they're not back till Wednesday. My biggest job, if I'm Eric Ten Hag in training on Wednesday or tomorrow or whenever it is, I've got to get Anthony, Sancho, Martial, Rashford, Garnacho, Bruno, Eriksen, Sabitzer. I want to get hold of those 8 players, and I want to I'm going to do drills. I'm going to do all sorts. Attack against defence, but what I'm going to say to the attack is, I'm not going to tell the defence because it'll make their job easier. You're not allowed to, if you can shoot from outside the box, if it goes in, you don't get the goal. I want goals in the box. If you're thinking about shooting from outside the box, get it in your head to play the extra pass. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to Wolves, you'll see what happens. We've got to start playing the extra pass. That's the biggest problem for me. I can't believe how wasteful we are from ridiculous areas. I mean, look, I'm a big fan of Rashford. I'm a big fan of Bruno. You know, I like Martial. I like Sancho, and I like Anthony. So for me, this is not about get out of my club with any of these players. It's just called it's called being balanced. But yesterday, I can think of loads of examples. But there was an Anthony one where he cut in from the right hand side and tried to do that left foot sort of finesse curler, which he has scored one, but probably tries it about 4 times a game, and he scored 1. Anyway, he tries to do it, and it's not just on Anthony. We've seen Rashford try it. Bruno tried a few. He goes for that shot, and the minute he goes for that shot, there's about 8 West Ham players behind him, and there's about 4, 5 Man United players ahead of him, and two in very close proximity. He shouldn't be taking that shot on. It gets blocked by one of the many West Ham players. What he should be doing is maybe knock it into Eriksen, who I think's 5 yards away. Knock it into Eriksen, and as you knock it, make that run in behind so that Eriksen can maybe dink it over the top. He might not get it to you, but you're going to stretch that West Ham defence, and Eriksen's got options. The movement off the ball is terrible. If I'm Anthony in that situation, the last thing I'm doing is shooting. I'm going to play it to Eriksen, I'm going to make a run, and a couple of West Ham players are going to think, we're vulnerable, we're playing a line here. If Eriksen dinks it over the top, Anthony's got a chance of getting in. So they've got to drop their line a bit, someone's got to go with him. That creates options for Eriksen, who can play that ball, but he can also have a look somewhere else and exploit the space. We're so bad in the final third at give and goes. And even when we do play the pass, the player who plays the pass that tends to stand still. The movement, I'm not saying go and watch Man City or Arsenal or Liverpool to that point, or Brighton normally, but if you do get a chance to watch them over the next few days, watch what they do. Watch what Man City do tomorrow against Real Madrid. They don't just give the ball and stand still. They give the ball and they move. And that's how you move defences around. Pep Guardiola is brilliant at this. What people are doing off the ball to create spaces for other. It's almost like a jigsaw that he creates to move space so that then someone can go through. Maybe Ten Hag, I think Ten Hag's capable of coaching it. Maybe he hasn't got the players who can do it. But yeah, I think if I'm being completely blunt, when you see a Man United player shooting from outside the box, yes, it's frustrating, but it's also, if we're being really blunt, evidence that our players aren't footballly intelligent enough, because they're shooting because they don't see an option. They're shooting because they think a wild shot from 35 yards is better than actually keeping the ball and trying to probe a team. Is this the problem? Is that what Ten Hag's saying? Is that what the players think? They're not good enough to break teams down, so let's just shoot instead. And that's a legacy problem. How many years have we been saying that we're rubbish against the low block? So, you know, people talk about, I want a goalkeeper, I want a centre-back, I want a right-back, I want another CDM. Is the problem not the biggest problem we've had for years? We can't break down low blocks. And we can't do it at the moment. And that's why we've scored as many goals as Leicester. And that's why we're not scoring enough goals. Because we can't break teams down. We need that moment. We need that break. But we can't break teams down when we're up against that low block. Who has won a Premier League title in the current squad, says GJ. Well, it's definitely De Gea. I don't know whether he's the only one. Anna Rudd, thank you very much for your super chat. Really appreciate that. Look, I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think we've certainly, I think, covered all topics in a very balanced way. And as I say, I get it. I understand. Some people have spoken about Rashford, and some people have spoken about Maguire, and some people have spoken about De Gea, and even Ten Hag. I get it. These opinions are completely valid, but I go back to what I said before. There is other sides to this. You know, I think that distribution of De Gea is a fair point. He made a mistake yesterday. That's a fair point. But you also can't argue with 15 clean sheets. You also can't argue that he's made more saves than Pope and Ramsdale, who've conceded, you know, roughly the same. And yet he's got more, you know, I think De Gea's had a good season. I really do. I think he's made some mistakes, but I think he's had a good season. But most important of all, I understand it. I'm not telling you you're wrong. Nobody's telling you you're wrong. You've got your opinion. Some of you would sell him. Some of you wouldn't give him a new contract. That's absolutely fine. But for the next few weeks, I want him in goal. And if De Gea isn't our keeper next season because Ten Hag decides he doesn't want him, that's fine. I disagree with it, but it's fine. But I just don't know how long we're going to keep going on about this one problem, which, you know, some of us don't think is the biggest problem. But the biggest problem, you know what the biggest problem in this United side is at the moment? Wolves, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Fulham, and Man City. That's our biggest problem. And these players are what we've got. We can't sign a goalkeeper at the moment. We can't sign a striker at the moment. We can't sign a midfielder. I wish we could sign some of those players right now, but we can't. I want Martial to play every single game because Weghorst is terrible and Martial's the best we've got. And I want him to play well and I want him to score. I might be wanting too much, but I want these players to perform. And that's all I'm focused on at the moment. And the summer is going to be massively interesting. And I think that's what we need to get to. But we haven't even got a new owner yet. And we're not even in the Champions League yet. Anyway, look, thanks everyone. Really appreciate your opinions tonight, whether I agree with them or not. I think it's been a really good show and I've enjoyed it. Legends as ever. We are back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, of course. It'll be an interesting 10 o'clock show tomorrow, actually, if you can watch it. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, have a good evening, day, whatever you're doing. Make sure you subscribe, smash a like on the video, and take care, whatever you're doing. I'll speak to you all in a bit.